Today, we are going to cover some reports here under the reports. So I'm just going to click on this and we're going to jump right in. We're going to go to community. And now we're going to go to move-in activity. And we'll just go ahead and leave this on March. We're using Crown Point today as an example. Usually when I pull this report, I don't click second residence because I'm wanting to know doorknobs, not number of residents. So I'm going to keep that as no, and I'm going to go ahead and select submit. And then for whatever, you can put whatever date range you want there. We're pulling March right now for this community for the move-ins, and they had a big move-in month here, you can see. But you could pull whatever you want, whatever date range you want for this report. Just keep in mind that for this report in Yardi, this is based on physical move-ins and move-outs. If you want to review the financial move-ins and move-outs, go into the spin tool under the sales and census tab, and then you'll be able to review the financial move-ins and outs. But this report here is good if you're just trying to double check. You can back this up to whatever dates you want. You can click directly on these links here and go right into the resident account. But this is going to tell you the service start date, the move-in date, the contract type. They had all permanent move-ins, but if there was a respite move-in, this would reflect as respite right here. Then you can see the sales counselor, the prospect source over here. So which referral source referred them, the market rate, the actual rate, the variance, and then the contract date. And then it will give you the total here. Pretty much for any report that you're going to pull in here, you can go up to this floppy disk here and you can export to Excel, PDF, Word if you want to print or review in a different format. Now we're going to go back over to reports. And we're going to do the same thing for move out activity. Only for this one, let's do, whoops. I'm going to pull all of last year. And this might be good if you're new to your community and you want to see, what happened before you got to this community for whatever specific date range. You can pull all the move outs and then include second residents. I'm going to go ahead for the purpose of what I want to show you here and just click yes on second residents. And we're going to click submit. Now, very similar to the move-in report, this is going to give you the move-in date, and then the notice date, the move-out date, the billing in date, and then over here you can see how many months they stayed and the reason for the move-out. You can also see if it was the primary resident or the second resident that moved out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click over, I'm going to go up here to this little triangle with a line after it and click over to the last page. What I like about the move-out report, and the reason I pulled this community for all of the prior year, is because you can now see the move-out analysis at the bottom here, which is really nice. So we can see for Crown Point, they had 46 assisted living move-outs, 24 memory care move-outs, 16 independent. So they had 86 move-outs last year. And we can see the breakdown. So we know that almost 54% of their move-outs were in assisted living. We can see the average number of stay for these 46 move-outs. The average stay was 13 months. And then over here, we can see the move-out reason. So this is why it's really important when you fill out that status form and you put the move-out reason. When AR does the move-out, you want to make sure that your business director and you have communicated the correct move-out reasons so that data like this in the system reflects correctly. So we can see here that almost 41% of their move-outs were due to death. And then the next highest level here is medical. Medical's higher level of care. So we can see almost 32% of their move-outs were due to higher level of care. So when the move out is processed in Yardi, you can select the move out reason. So this information is just good so that you can maybe look at your internal processes and see how you can retain your residents longer. If it's making sure that our signature programs are in place, such as our Care Connect, or maybe that we have therapy in place where we need to have therapy to keep our residents as long as we can. So this gives you an idea of what's happened in your community for the date range that you pull. Now we're going to go over, let's go back to reports, community. I want to show you the move in, move out analysis. We'll go ahead and just put April, and we're going to select submit. So now this report is a 12-month report. From whatever date that you put in, it's going to go back 12 months. And you can see both a move in, move out analysis on this view. And for the move ins, you can see the lead category, and for the move outs, you can see the reason code. So, and then it gives you the total. And then if you want to figure your 12-month attrition from this date back, you can take this number divided by 12, this total number down here for your move outs. So another different view of your move ins and move outs to review this data here. I want to show you one more report under on attrition. So that one, you can figure the attrition by doing it yourself, taking that move out number, dividing it by 12. But I like this report too. It's called the 18-month move-ins, move-out net trend. And we'll just go ahead and keep it. It's going to pull 18 months back from whatever date we put in here. So we'll just keep it on the date that's in here. And then for report type, you can use the drop down. You can select if you want to see the 18-month move-ins trend. You can also do the move-out trend, or you can do the net between the two. We're going to keep it on the move-out trend. And we're going to go ahead and click submit. And you can see here now for our move outs that it breaks it down by care level, and then it gives you the total. So it goes 18 months back from the date you put in. But when you scroll over to the right, what is nice about this is it gives you the 18-month average move outs, the 12-month average, 6 and 3-month average. So you can see if your community is pretty flat, or if you're trending in the right direction, if you want your attrition to be low, you want to keep your residents as long as possible. So if this number is creeping up, it's a good time to, again, review your internal processes, review those signature programs, make sure we have everything in place that we need to, your IDT meetings, again, Care Connect, all of those things to make sure that we can keep our residents as long as possible. So this is where you can view for your community, if you want to look back before you got there, see what the average attrition is or the average move outs, and see how your community is trending. This is where you can view that. This is also another great talking point, sometimes with your sales director. I remember, even though my sales director was there a long time, when I was an executive director, sometimes she would get a little worked up about the move outs, and oh goodness, we've got, 4 more move outs this month. And then I would tell her, listen, for the last 10 years, we always average 3 to 4 move outs at our community every month. So we just need to plan for that ahead of time, and plan for, if we need to have a net gain, then we need to plan for 5 to 6 move-ins. Okay, so under this community section, we're going to go in and we're going to review one more report under this section. I will point out that you can run the rent roll here. It's a pretty common report. I won't pull it today, but this is where you can pull it if you need to pull your rent roll. I am going to go down to this vacant units report because this is probably one of my favorite reports. We'll go ahead and we'll keep this on 4-1. We're going to click submit. So even though this is not a good example. Well, anyways, we'll go ahead and keep this here. So even though this is a vacant unit report, you can go in and you can pull this. You could export this to Excel, PDF, Word. If you want to print this, go walk your vacant units. You can drill down by clicking on this blue link to look at that apartment. But the coolest thing about this report is that it shows your lost revenue. And some of you were on the call, not the last call, but the previous call before that on the company operations call. And Crown Point had gotten a shout out because they had just recently got to 100% after, it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, this community was at 49%. And so when I got this community at 49%, at the time I was overseeing this community, we had a lot of conversations about how each director in the community impacts this number. And at that time, this monthly number, obviously you can do the math for the annual. This was a very large, the annual number was millions lost. This is a very large community. So there were some really good talking points about how each director impacts this number. And every single director fully knew that the occupancy was low, but they didn't quite understand the financial impact it was having on the community. So every single day that these apartments sit empty, this is how much revenue we're losing. So this is money that can go back to the building, wages, programming, technology, all of that. So I just really think that this leads to some really great conversation, and it allows for you to have some open and transparent conversations with your directors, because they may not realize the magnitude or the impact of the monthly lost revenue or the daily lost revenue. And even as the community, at the time as we were filling up, we had created something internally so that during stand-up, we could review every week the progress that we were making and watching the lost revenue days go down, and then we could celebrate those wins. But once we got over 90% as a team, they're 100% now, but there was a little lag, and the team is always extremely competitive. But I just feel like even for communities that are highly occupied and in the 90%, this is still good conversation, because maybe your team thinks, hey, we're at 90%, we're doing good, but they don't understand how much is still left on the table, how much opportunity is still left on the table here. So even if you're highly occupied, you might be surprised, or your team might be surprised about the monthly or the daily lost revenue here. It also does show over here, usually this report has more than one if you have more than one vacant, but it also does show the days vacant since the last move out. So if you have a list of them, it may change your strategy and what you're offering, how you're offering it, depending if you have an apartment that's set empty for a year, maybe you want to do something different with that pricing. So there's just more to this report than just listing out the vacant units, and I really like to point that out for you all. Any questions so far before we move on? Okay, we'll keep moving. Now I'm going to go down to the financial section here, and we're going to pull the financial analytics. Have all of you had a chance to pull this financial analytics to review your financials yet? This is the report that you're pulling in Yardi to drill down on your financials before your financial review call.
I have. I've been in there.
Yes, I have.
Perfect. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, you can. And if you've been in here, you probably already realize that, like, I've been in here several times. I pull this report a lot. So my settings are set. I don't have to reselect each of these settings to pull this report now. They're saved in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click display. And now, as many of you know, you can drill down. You can even drill down on the level of care here. But what's a better example? Do they have? Maybe let's look at this concession, this $176 concession here. I'm going to go ahead to drill down. As you know, you just keep clicking on the blue link to drill even farther. So now that I've drilled farther, if I didn't know as an executive director what that was, or maybe we had a large number of concessions that month and I need to really drill into that, you can drill down here, even on the revenue side, and see, which person this concession was for and what period it was in. You can also do that if you're trying to see, okay, what makes up this level of care? I thought we were going to have closer to 15,000, or we have more than I expected here. So you can drill down on your level of care and all of these revenue charge codes, just like you can your expense codes. But let's go down and let's just, since most of you are already familiar with this, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in here, but we'll go ahead and just pull what's a good one. Let's try this R&M appliance. I'm going to click on this 1355 again. And now you can see the date, the period, and what's really helpful is you can see the remarks over here. So if you're trying to refresh your memory and make your notes for your financial review call, get in here, drill down. The J here is a journal entry. So that means it was a journal entry that was made. I want to pull one more. Let's go to, see if this one. Well, if you click on any of these, you can click into it and see the detail. Every now and then when you click on them, if they are in our DSSI system, you won't be able to see the invoice here. But if it's a different vendor, sometimes where you see the payee workflow approver tab, there will be an invoice tab, and you can actually even review the invoice right in here. Any questions on the financial analytics report? This report, I tell you, is just amazing. It makes reviewing your financials a lot faster than it used to be. Okay, we're going to keep moving. We're going to go over here to reports. Now we're going to go down to receivables, and you'll see here that there's several different aging reports that you can pull. I always pull, not to say you couldn't pull any of these, but I always pull this aging summary by accounting period. And we'll just go ahead. We're not looking at any specific data, so we'll leave this on the settings. I was always trained to put this negative 9999 number in here for the minimum amount. And then you can select yes when you exclude residents with zero balance. We're not worried about the residents with zero balance here. And then you can select the payers. So right now, this community is private pay only, but you can select both or one or the other, depending on what you want to look at. And we're going to go ahead and click submit. And you'll want to make it a habit to pull this. I know we rely on our business directors to do the delinquency narrative, and you're reviewing the delinquency narrative that they complete. But you would be surprised, or I was surprised in the past, how when I pulled this myself and compared it to the delinquency narrative, sometimes they would skip over some of the past due balances and not document them on there. In their mind, they kind of knew what was going on with it, but we needed that documentation trail on the delinquency narrative itself. So I always found it helpful when overseeing communities, or even as an executive director, to export this one to Excel. And then I can go over as I'm having conversations with my business director. If I'm the ED or the regional and I need to know next steps for myself, or if I just want to make a comment here, then I can go over to this far column and make comments on what needs to be done. This community has cleaned up their aging a lot, but you can see that it's broke out here by current. These are all the current past due balances. Obviously, anything over here in the 1 month column through the 7 month column that's past due, any blue links in these columns are going to be red flags. You're going to want to click on those. It may be a small amount like this $66 one that is just an ancillary fee probably that pulled over from last month and will be picked up on the next month. But you can see here's a resident that is past due, and you can drill directly down on it. You can click on their name and go directly to their account if you want to review it that way. And then you can scroll through the pages, and once you get down far enough through your current residents, then you can review any moved out resident past due balances here. And then on the last page, you'll see all the totals at the bottom. And I would say one of the biggest things with this is making sure that your business director is following, you and your business director are following the collections policy, using the collections letters, documenting the calls and the communications on that delinquency narrative. But so many times, I don't know what it is, but sometimes business directors feel uncomfortable having those conversations, or they feel bad charging the late fee, or they've had the conversation with the family, and so they feel like, well, I just talked to them, so I'm not going to send them the letter. But we really do need to send the letter. That's part of our process. And then at the end of that, if they haven't paid by 30 days, our policy is to work with the regional and determine if a move out notice needs to be given. And then at that point, you work with legal. They generate that if that's what you and your regional decide. And if they end up paying the balance, you can always rescind the notice. So all of the collections, letters, and all of that can be found on the intranet. Any questions here? Okay, I'm going to go over and I want to show you one more section. So if we click on reports and we go down to resident, we're not going to pull all of these, but I really like to point out that you can come in here, you can pull your average age, average length of stay, leave of absence, birthdays, you can pull face sheets, and then the tax letter here. I'm going to go ahead and click on the tax letter. So I already have a resident selected here, but when you go in here to pull, this will probably be blank, and then you can just click on this blue link resident. I'll show you what it looks like. And then you can just scroll down. You can select which resident you want to pull this letter for. You can search their name here, or you can filter the status to current residents, etc. So I already have a resident selected in here, and we're going to go ahead and submit this. This letter is obviously popular and more requested during tax season. So from December through April, you may get requests for this letter, and it's a very nice letter that you can generate. Your business director can generate this. Doesn't mean that we give tax advice, but some residents may need this for their tax information. And it does lay out here exactly what they paid for each charge code. And then down here, there's a little message for them. You can print it, sign it, and they can give this to their tax person to do with what they need to. I wouldn't print these for everyone and pass them out. It may cause some anxiety seeing how much they paid in the prior year, but or it may not be the most exciting thing to pass out. But this is definitely available in here should it be requested.